how do you read this, and how do you think Russia might have strategized the use of their air power? And is Russia just threatening nuclear weapon, or is it going to use it also? And what are the implications for India and the future of air power?
Good morning to every one of you. At
Good
the
morning.
outset, I would like to thank Team Metamorphs for inviting me to be part of this eminent panel for discussion on Ukrainian war. I'll be expressing my views on the employment of air power as well as use of drones in this war. But before I express my views on the employment of air power, I would like to put a couple of connected issues in right perspective. First, the Russian aggression in Ukraine was in the making for more than a decade. And Russia is not the first powerful country to carry out military aggression against a weaker country. And unfortunately, it will not be the last one to do so. However, we cannot condone the Russian military aggression because it has serious and long-term geopolitical, economic, and military implications for India. The second point which I want to put in right perspective is that the information campaign of this war is in total control by the Western media. And whatever information we are also getting and we are discussing now is mostly coming through the Western media. Therefore, we cannot take whatever is in the media at the face value, and we have to draw our own conclusion. Coming specifically to the use of air power in this war, Russian Air Force, like any major air force in the world, carried out important and major airstrikes against important airfields, command and control centers, fuel and ammo dumps, long-range surface-to-air missile batteries. They have virtually destroyed the defense industry of Ukraine, and they've also destroyed many of their strategic and military targets. They also made decent use of electronic warfare during their air campaign. And in fact, before they had come for the first strike, most of the Russian radars were jammed. And this gave them fair amount of fairly high degree of mission accomplishment with fairly low air attrition. But if you, the second thing which I want to bring about is that I feel that Russia was in a haste to capture Kyiv. And we all know that they suffered heavy attrition, and in the end, the mission was a failure and they had to abandon this. If you now compare this with the Gulf War of 1991, you realize that US had carried out a tailor-made 38 days air campaign against the Iraq. And during this 38 days, they had decimated Iraqi Air Force. And I would like to tell you that Iraqi Air Force that time was also about 5th or 6th largest Air Force in the world. They had virtually destroyed all their strategic and military targets. And after that, Iraqi surface forces were made to surrender during a coordinated 100-hour air-land battle. Though I'm also aware that it is not right, and you really can't compare two operations because of different terrains, different enemy strengths, and various other factors. But I am certain that had the Russians delayed launching the ground offensive till they had achieved fairly high degree of air superiority and should have destroyed major strategic and military targets, and more importantly, they should have destroyed major chunk of Ukrainian Air Force, enemy armored and long-range RT, but they didn't do so. even today, after 75 days or 74 days of war, the Ukrainian airspace is contested. When I say contested, that means it can be used either by Russia or by the Ukraine. We also know that one of the major objectives of Russia was a regime change to remove Zelensky. But we didn't see any effort from Russia to target Zelensky either through airstrikes or through special operations. And also, if they were not able to target him, at least they should have forced him to go underground or to flee the country. What happened in Afghanistan when President Ashraf Ghani left the country, the, the story would have been different. But against this, Zelensky was freely interacting with his advisors and controlling the war and also interacting with the foreign leaders. And as the war progressed, Zelensky became the face of resistance and kept his army and civil population highly motivated. Now, coming to the use of drones. Drones were used by both the sides fairly well, more so by the Ukrainians than the Russians. However, there is no instance which has come to light where UAVs have become or they became the game changer in any of the battles in this war. Ukraine used Turkish TB2 UCAV, that is unmanned combat aerial vehicles. And I'm not very sure about the effectiveness of this UCAV because we all know that the cutting edge drone technology is barely available with the US and Israel, though I must admit that China, Russia, Europe, and Turkey are not far behind. But what became more important than the conventional UAVs was the loitering munition, which is a mix of a missile and a UAV, which is also called a suicide drone or a kamikaze drone. It became fairly effective. Both sides used loitering munition, but the loitering munition used by Ukraine was more effective than the loitering munition used by the Russian Federation. US supplied switchblade loitering munition to Ukraine, and which has a rough range of about 40 kilometers, 40 minutes of endurance. And as we speak now, more or a sophisticated version of switchblade, that is Phoenix Ghost, 120 plus loitering munition is on the way to Ukraine. But I also would like to state that at this stage of war, what all drones or weapons you can supply to Ukraine, it will not tilt the balance towards the Ukraine. It can only delay the outcome and in turn increase the attrition of both Ukrainians and the Russians. I also want to state that Ukraine would have surrendered much earlier had they not been given weapons and other support like imagery from the US and Europe. Coming to the present situation, after the initial setback of capturing Kyiv, Russia made a pragmatic decision to withdraw and thereafter focused their attention solely on the southern and eastern region of Ukraine. As whatever information is available till date, what has been covered by Anuj also, that Russia has captured large amount of territory in the southern and eastern Ukraine. And more importantly, it has captured a very important port town of Mariupol. And now, with every passing day, they are moving inwards. What was shown by Anuj, they are moving westwards and also northwards and along the coast towards Odessa. At this moment, we really can't be sure what is their plan, but there is a possibility that they would like to capture the entire territory, not only Donbass region, but the entire territory east of Dnipro River. At this moment, we all know not only the drones, but they are getting other weapons also. But it will not make a difference, as I covered earlier. And Russia started attacking the convoys of Western arms, and not only convoys, wherever the arms are being stored, they are being destroyed. So it will not make much difference as of now. However, as far as Russia is concerned, in the eastern part, they have achieved some sort of a favorable air situation, and now they are using their air power more effectively to carry out counter surface force operations. But they are suffering losses due to superior manpads supplied by US. But as we move along, I feel that gradually their, their losses will dwindle down in the days and weeks to come. My take is that they will continue capturing the territory, and not only the Donbass region, they will try to capture more territory, and also they'll capture the territory to create adequate width of land corridor to connect Donetsk with Crimea, and they will try to take or capture as many ports as possible on the seas of Azov and Black Sea. After they have achieved their objectives, they will declare unilateral ceasefire, and whatever extra territory they have captured, probably they will use that territory once they are in negotiation, which will happen today or tomorrow with the Ukrainians. This is all I have to say about the present situation and use of air power. Thank you.